What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Going to be streaming with the Hawks Nest in a few hours. We have our show later. We're going to be talking a little bit about defensive tackles, mostly nose tackles, I think, and a little bit of linebacker stuff in this upcoming draft. We are obviously getting up to the very end of the line here, so therefore there isn't much left to talk about, but we do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the interior of the defense. So definitely tune in. But before we get there, we've got this video here. And given that we are now officially 1 week away from the start of the 2026 NFL Draft, just 1 week away, I thought this would be a fun time to do something a little bit different. And this is something that I did for the Seahawks on SI page a little while ago. Let's rank the last 10 Seattle Seahawks draft classes from worst to best. This video is sponsored by PrizePicks. More on them later. And yeah, basically, we're just going to go ahead and take a look at what the Seahawks have done in the last 10 draft classes they have partaken in and rank them from least effective at helping the team to most effective. And it's kind of a fun exercise because it does remind you that it wasn't always great, right? Like the last several draft classes have been at the very least good and sometimes great, sometimes extraordinary, sometimes historic. But it wasn't always like that. There have been lean years. So let's go ahead, starting with the worst, moving on to the best. So number 10 is going to be this. This is kind of a slam dunk here. It's kind of unfair, though, because we had almost no picks. We had one pick in the top 130, and it was a second rounder, a late second round pick. So it's just one of those things where it was always going to be this one, right? But even removing that qualifier, the Seahawks got nothing out of this class. Dwayne Eskridge gave them nothing and then left. Trey Brown had like maybe a 10 or 12 game stretch where things looked good, but then he got hurt and now he's barely in the league. And Stone Forsythe was an okay-ish swing tackle, but was never really a player you were happy to have on your team. So yeah, this is clearly last place. It's 3 players and none of them really did much of anything. Like Trey Brown was okay for a little bit. That's it. That's as far as I can go. All right, so that is the easy last place. Then you've got ninth place is going to be 2016, and it gets a little bit tough here. There are a couple. This is a little debatable, but when I look at 2016, this was kind of the deepest part of the Seahawks trying to reach for need with their top picks and getting burned for it. They took an offensive lineman at 31, but it was the wrong one. Jermaine Ifedi, he played a lot. The availability was good, I guess, but he was not a very good player. And we couldn't really figure out how to use him right. And near the end of his career, we did move him to guard and he was better, but he was still not good. And he ultimately did nothing to fix the problem that we had. And then you got guys like Procise who couldn't stay healthy. Nick Vannett was kind of anonymous. Odiombo, nothing. Alex Collins, rest in peace. Joey Hunt, we all remember Joey Hunt, I think, and then a couple guys who never played. So all you've got here is Jaron Reed, who is good. Jaron Reed's nice. And Quentin Jefferson, who was pretty good for a 5th-round pick, but those 2 guys cannot really save this class overall. Do you like sports? If you do, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. PrizePicks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, PrizePicks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. I've had a great time using PrizePicks so far. It makes this daily fantasy thing so easy and fun, and it even makes watching the games way more exciting. And with the cool social feeds feature, you can share lineups with your friends and even follow partners to tail or fade their picks. Obviously, we're in the NFL offseason right now, but we've got basketball, baseball, hockey, all kinds of other stuff, so don't be afraid to test things out in whatever sport clicks with you. You can even pick multiple sports in the same lineup and sweat everything at once. And don't forget about team picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So, download PrizePicks, America's #1 sports app. And don't forget, Code HMA, that is HMA, gives you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize picks. It's good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. Okay, so number 8 is going to be 2017. So 2017, this was another tough lesson, and maybe one of the bigger lessons that John Schneider, and I wrap Pete Carroll into that as well, learned during their time in Seattle. Malik McDowell was the top pick, and he was a big character red flag, and he immediately proved to deserve those red flags. So, yeah, there was not really much to say there. He never played it down as a Seahawk. Now, the good news is there was some positive stuff to take away from this class. Mostly Shaq Griffin and Chris Carson. Shaq Griffin made a couple Pro Bowls as a Seahawk, was a pretty good corner for them. And Chris Carson was an adequate starting running back for them for a few years there before he got hurt. So we did get something there, but those guys did not exactly push us into the stratosphere, right? Like, you would not say that Chris Carson and Shaquille Griffin were integral parts of some great Seahawks team. Ethan Posick was good when we played him at center, which was not until the very end of his Seattle career, and then he went on to Cleveland, where he became actually a really good player. You had David Moore, who was good for a reserve receiver, but just relatively forgettable still. Better than you would expect from a 7th-round pick, but not by enough to really be a difference maker. And then you had a couple guys that played but weren't really good, like Lano Hill and Tedrick Thompson. You tried to refresh your safety room here and did not really work. Nazir Jones, Amara Darbo, Michael Tyson, Justin Sr., nothing there. So another pretty bad class. Okay, so number 7 is going to be 2019. And 2019, decent amount of frustration here, right? Like, okay, DK Metcalf stands out as the crown jewel of this class by far. DK Metcalf, very good player for the Seahawks over a 6-year career. He made an All-Pro team. He made a Pro Bowl. He set franchise records. He set some historically good paces for an early career receiver. And without him, I think the receiving game would have had some real problems in those post Doug Baldwin years. But even that ended up being a little bit frustrating, right? DK Metcalf ended up being a little bit of a frustrating pick, because while he was good, it felt like there could have been more. It felt like he could have been better, and it just didn't happen. So you have that, and then everything else is just kind of like, okay, LJ Collier, big bust. We know that. Marquise Blair, I think Marquise Blair maybe could have been good, but Pete didn't like him, and he almost never played here. Cody Barton had moments, but it was just as frustrating as he was good, right? It was just one of those things. Gary Jennings Jr. never played. Phil Haynes was adequate as a backup. Ugo Amadi, adequate depth, out of his league as a starter. Ben Burke-Irvin, just a special teamer for a very short period of time. DeMarcus Christmas, John Ursua, nothing. We like John Ursua, but he never actually contributed. And Travis Homer, that wasn't too bad. I like Travis Homer, but he's not going to save this class. You're not going to get a decent 3rd-string running back in the 6th round and say, okay, the class is saved. So that is 7th place, I think. There's one really good player here that is still kind of frustrating, and everything else just doesn't cut it. Okay, number 6 here is going to be 2018. 2018, yeah, this one, there's definitely some silver linings here. Will Dissly has been a good player in his career. He had a good career and did help the Seahawks when he was here. Will Dissly was nice. Michael Dixon, one of the best punters in the league, could go down as one of the all-time great punters. He's been pretty awesome ever since he's been here, so that's been a nice pick. So we do have a little bit going here. And even, okay, like Trey Flowers didn't work out, but Trey Flowers was good for us for a couple years. Those first 2 years of Trey Flowers were pretty good, and then he just regressed. So even there, we got something out of a 5th-round pick, mind you. Jacob Martin. He's decent. We ended up flipping him in the Clowney trade, but he's a pretty good player. Okay. So you've got a little something here, but then it's like, okay, Rashad Penny, no, didn't work out. Not an entirely terrible pick because the guy could play, he just couldn't stay healthy, and that was bad luck. Don't get it twisted. Like Rashad Penny, there was no reason to believe he would be that injury prone coming out of college, and the dude can ball or could ball. Rasheem Green, not a little bit here and there, but not much. Shaquem Griffin, I mean, it was a fun pick, but obviously we didn't get a ton out of it. Jamarco Jones, not much to say. Alex Magoo never played for us, so at least not in a regular season game. So just kind of bleh, you know? It's not even really average. It's just kind of bleh. Okay, number 5 is going to be 2020, the Seattle Seahawks 2020 draft. Probably the most frustrating draft in this entire group because it's really tough to zero in on how to feel about it. Like Jordan Brooks, Seahawks fans argue constantly over how good Jordan Brooks is. Some people think he's fantastic. Some people think he's awful. Some people think he falls somewhere in the middle. Regardless of how you feel about him, however good you think he was in Seattle, he did not play past his rookie contract, and he went to the Miami Dolphins, and he actually made the All-Pro team there. But it I don't know. The Jordan Brooks one is complicated. He adds to the frustration here. Darrell Taylor thought he was going to be special, but never really manifested. He's just a guy, basically. Damian Lewis, good player. Maybe not great, but good player. We jerked him around a little bit. Still was pretty decent, and then we didn't re-sign him. So it's like, okay, you get the rookie deal out of him when he's learning, and then he goes somewhere else and becomes the established veteran. So not great. Colby Parkinson, decent player, nothing over the top special, but not a bad pick. And now he's in LA and he's still a pretty good player. Uh, DJ Dallas, again, as like a third string back, sure, that's fine, but nothing to get excited about. Alton Robinson had a good rookie year, but has been out of the league for a while now. Freddie Swain, also kind of out of the league, irrelevant. Steven Sullivan, I guess he did play in the NFL at some point. I don't think he played for the Seahawks as tight end, though. So nothing really to speak of there. So you've got players that played, players that did contribute on some level positively, but you didn't really come away with anything that moved the needle in a way that pushed you to be the team that you are now. Okay, so that pushes us through that. So now we're on to the top 4, and this is where things start to get good. So number 4 is going to be 2024. Um, it's a little early for us to know for sure what's going on here. I will grant you that. But you look at this class, Byron Murphy is putting the group on his back, really. And he could do that because he has been that good. He has been better than I ever would have anticipated based on what he was in college. I think he's been a better pro player than he was in college, which is not something that happens that often. And he single-handedly has brought a lot of positive things to this defense that I don't think we would have had with pretty much anybody else. He has become a guy who can play out of position and still be good. He has become a guy who is a really, really proven 3-tech, a really good pass rusher from the interior. There's so much to like there that you are in a very good spot with him. Now, the rest of the class, like A.J. Barner's good. Okay, A.J. Barner, I like him. Great pick in the 4th. Been a pretty good receiving tight end. Been a good blocker. The rest, though, I'm not so sure. Christian Haynes seems like a bust. It's not over yet, but it's looking not so good. Tyrese Knight had a good rookie year, not so good second year, and then he ended up on the bench. And now he's probably stuck to the bench for the time being. So I think that Tyrese Knight is probably not really part of the consideration here. Even though I don't think he's been a bad pick. He's a 4th-round pick. You did get one good year out of him. And he's a good backup. I like Pritchett, but I don't know if we'll ever get like starter snaps out of him. DJ James never did anything for us. Lomea played a little bit, but was off the team after 1 year, and Michael Jarrell was traded to the Atlanta Falcons. So other than Murphy and Barner, it doesn't seem like we're going to get a ton out of this class. Luckily, Murphy has been so good and so valuable, it doesn't matter that much. But this is kind of feeling like it's going to end up being a very top-heavy class. Okay, number 3 is going to be 2025, and this one we're way too early on because we've only had 1 year with this group. But based on what we've seen so far, Gray Zabel seems like a starting caliber left guard for the foreseeable future. At the very least, maybe he could become a really good one. I don't know. But that seems like that's going to work out really well for us. So Gray Zabel, money there. Good stuff. Eamon Worry seems like he's going to be maybe the most important part of this defense for the foreseeable future. And I know he's not our best player, but he may be our most important, the linchpin to this defense working. He's been awesome. That's been exciting. So you've got those two guys going on. Those are two borderline foundational pieces. Torrey Horton, 5th-round pick, who caught 5 touchdowns and did some punt return stuff as a rookie. So even if he never really gets right health-wise, you still got good mileage out of him as a 5th-round pick. Now, the rest we don't know about, right? We don't know about Arroyo. He didn't do a lot as a rookie. Not much to say there yet. I'm not a fan, but we'll see. Jalen Milroe, no idea what's going on there yet. I'm not a fan, but we'll see. Riley Mills flashed at the end of the year. I am a fan, but hard to know. Barely played. Not going to make any big sweeping assumptions yet. Robbie Oots seems like coming along as a fullback, but not quite sure if he's going to get to where we want to get to yet. He was kind of mediocre in 2025, and then he got hurt before he could really find himself. And everyone else so far is pretty much anonymous. Not much to say. Cable Dew was active a little bit, but really barely played. So not a lot going on from the rest of this class yet, but you kind of expect that because it's been 1 year. Zabel, Eamon Worry, and Horton alone make this a very nice class. And if somebody else can step forward, like O'Reilly Mills, you've got something pretty special here. So that is number 3. Number 2 is going to be the 2022 class. This class at the time looked legendary. Here we are now several years later, and it's still fantastic, but at the same time, only 2 of these players were actually retained. And they were the 2 tackles. You had Charles Cross and you had Abe Lucas. Those guys, money in the bank, franchise caliber cornerstone tackles. Love it. It's everything you could want out of a class. That alone would make this class very special. Now, the other guys, you didn't keep them. However, it is worth noting that they helped you win a Super Bowl. Ken Walker won Super Bowl MVP. Boye Mafe was a consistent starter for several years on this defense, including the number 1 defense in the league last year. Kobe Bryant, same thing. Not a great player, but a very good one that helped. And as frustrating as the Reek Woolen experience was, we still had a lot of fun with him. We got a lot of good miles out of him. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we decided not to retain him. I think probably correctly. I'm fine with that. But at the same time, he did provide value. You're not winning the Super Bowl without him in all likelihood. As weird as that is to say because of how he played in the playoffs, it's still probably true. And even Derek Young is decent depth. Bo Melton's actually found a little success in the NFL. So even those guys, they're not nothings. So fantastic class. It's too bad we weren't able to keep 1 or 2 more of these guys. But at the same time, the goal is to win the Super Bowl. And this group helped us win the Super Bowl. And finally, first place. Number 1 is, of course, 2013. What else is it going to be? We may have gotten, and look, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is definitely the case, but we may have gotten, with our first pick, the best cornerback in the NFL. And with our next pick, we may have gotten the best receiver in the NFL. I know that there's room for saying, oh, this guy's a little better, that guy's a little bit better. But both those guys are in contention for being the best in the NFL at their spots. To me, the main argument against Witherspoon is health. And to me, the main argument against JSN is just the ability to fully play as an outside boundary receiver. But in terms of their ability to play and produce when they're on the field, second to almost nobody. Elite. Phenomenal stuff. And you still get good miles out of Derek Hall. Derek Hall's a good player. Derek Hall has been useful for this team in his career. Last 2 years, he's been effective. Zach Charbonnet, not an amazing player, but very effective. Not a bad pick at all. He's helped. And I think that he will probably have a little bit more to give us in the coming couple years. We'll see how the injury ends up coming back. And even Anthony Bradford, look at all the starts he has. I know he's not really a good player, but he's also not a complete waste. It wasn't a complete loss here. He's been a starting guard for you for some time after being a fourth round pick. That is actually a pretty good pick. Mike Morris, Oluwatimi, good depth. Derek Reed didn't really pan out the way we were hoping, and then we had to move on from him earlier than we probably wanted. Cameron Young, nothing really there. Kenny McIntosh can't stay healthy, but even with that, there's plenty of depth on this draft as well. So this is number one for me. I think this is as good as it gets. Maybe you could have taken an offensive lineman instead of Charbonnet or Hall, I guess. But this is the stuff that dreams are made out of. All right. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have any disagreements. I will see you guys soon. And keep an eye out on the stream later today.